The Premier travelled to Sydney to give evidence in the federal court, the first time he's left WA in 2 years, partly due to the hard border his government imposed.
That was unfortunate and sad. It affected me personally, obviously, but it was the right thing to do because we've had some outstanding outcomes when it comes to COVID, health outcomes and also economic outcomes.
Inside the court, the Premier was asked about Clive Palmer's statements that he'd lied about the reasons for closing the state's border in 2020. Mark McGowan testified the claims made him feel angry, hurt, offended. He said they were made at a time of heightened anxiety in the pandemic, when vaccinations were a long way off. And he told the court comments by Mr Palmer that he had acted corruptly cuts to the core of what I stand for. But Clive Palmer's counsel, Peter Gray, read an email to the court which had been sent to the Premier in March 2020. It had Chief Health Officer Andy Robertson's name on it and said closing the border would slow the spread of COVID, but described the impact as relatively small when compared to other measures like closing retail outlets. Under questioning, Mr McGowan agreed the word necessary wasn't in the email, but he still believed closing the border was required. The Premier also accused Clive Palmer of creating anger in the community, which contributed to his family being targeted. He said Mr Palmer had falsely claimed that he'd had legislation passed so that he could escape prosecution for criminal acts. Mr McGowan told the court that some people were capable of believing these claims. He said his family had been threatened with being beheaded, with a sniper attack, and even being pursued after the Premier left office. The Premier returns to give more evidence later this week. David Webber, ABC News.